Washington Football Addicts, baby. Let's go. Washington Football Addicts. We've been repping for years. Always keeping it real. It's Rod, Steve, Devin, Phil. We talking about latest deals and what goes on the field and happenings with the team. So listen if you a fiend. Hey.
What's going on, Washington Football Addicts, Washington football fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Washington Football Addicts podcast. As always, we're going to open up our show as Big Phil always does. You know, he splits the history behind everything, and Phil, go ahead and take it away.
Number 82, we are going to dedicate to the Miracle in Michigan himself, Michael Westbrook, also known as Hands of Stone, whatever you want to call him. The star that never was. If you're around our age, if you're in your late 30s, maybe even a little younger, a little older, you know the name Michael Westbrook, and you remember it because he was a first-round draft pick out of Colorado. He was known as the man who caught the Miracle in Michigan pass from Cordell Stewart, which, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's one of the most amazing Hail Mary passes in the history of football. He was the 1994 winner of the Paul Warfield Trophy for best receiver in college football. Came to Washington and couldn't stay healthy. For the life of this dude, could not stay healthy. There was seasons where he was playing 11 games, 13 games, 11 games, and didn't even get to start all of them because they were still bringing him back from injury. Nonetheless, he did lead the team in receiving yards 3 different times, and also led the team, 2 different times, and led the team in receptions once as well in 2001. Finished out his career one season with Cincinnati afterwards. We don't care about that because he didn't do anything. But he was always that guy who flashed potential. He was 6'3", 220, fast, flashed all his potential and just could not stay healthy. But the one season he was healthy and offense that threw the ball, 99, you can go back and listen to my Washington way back on that. He was fantastic, and you saw the star he could be. After football, he took up a career in MMA. Now, if you were a fan, you remember in '98 in training camp, he put the hammer fists right to Steven Davis.
Yeah, led the team in ass whoopings.
I mean, it's not often you see a fullback take an ass whooping from a wide receiver, but that tells you how hard Michael Westbrook can punch. So he had a professional MMA career where he was 1-1-1. And although I personally love his one win, it was his debut match. He fought Jared Bunch, who was a former fullback for the Giants, and submitted him with a rear naked choke in less than 5 minutes. So anytime you beat on a giant, I'm happy. So
all right.
Kudos Michael Westbrook. Younger fans may know him from that MTV show Bully. What was it? The one where they some kids getting bullied. Yeah. So you hire an MMA fighter to beat up your bully in the ring or in an octagon. And Michael Westbrook got to be one of those MMA guys who got to beat up some bully, and he roughed up the kid pretty well too.
Man, 82. We couldn't have did Logan Paulson. I'm just kidding. 82 is a good one. Westbrook. Good pick.
He's by far got the highest career value on
I feel
Pro Football Reference.
Well, like I said, thanks, Phil, for opening up. I got myself. I'm Steve. We got Phil, did the intro. We got Dev. And we also joined by a special guest tonight, Mr. Joe Glorioso. And he's from the company called All Pro Real. So let's give Joe a round of applause and welcome. Thanks for coming out with us tonight, Joe. And Joe, whether you guys know tonight, Joe is a friend of my wife. They grew up together, and she told me to tell you hi and Holy Spirit flames forever before we got started.
That's right. We used to say flame on before it became a really bad.
Before Drag On ruined that for everybody.
Right. You can't
so Joe, thank you for coming on tonight, man. Welcome to the show.
Of course, I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
having me on and having an interest in.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
what
You joined our Facebook group a while back, and you're always putting out some phenomenal content with your photos and your crew. And I just couldn't wait to actually sit down and talk to you about, what's that like? How does that work? Because you're just, you have access that some of us will never have, and it's going to be fascinating to hear that. So, but before we get started, tell us your fan story. So, Cleo, how did you become a fan of this team growing up?
So the earliest memory that I have was told to me. I'm not really sure. I don't recall it, but I know that I watched the Raiders Super Bowl with my parents back in 80. I guess that would have been 82.
2, 3, yes.
82, and then I think, 82, 81. It was
83,
one of those.
January of 84.
Yes. So I witnessed that. I was told. The first real memory that I have, like as my fandom started, was actually the Joe Theismann broken leg game. That was when, and it was kind of weird. Like it's kind of surreal because like they were doing so well, right? And then that happens, and you would have thought that like that being my longest memory, I would have been like, holy shit, like I don't want to watch football anymore. But instead, it was like, okay, I root for this team. Their quarterback just broke their leg. This is really cool, and I'm going to go to school and wear Redskins gear for the rest of my life. So my fandom really started kind of then, and then obviously as we won Super Bowls in the late 80s and early 90s, I constantly go back and say, if I would have known back then that I would never see another Super Bowl again for another, who knows how long until we see one, I would have appreciated those a little bit more. Probably would have cut out the newspaper clippings and held on to them for a little bit longer. But, all in all, I guess I grew up through the glory years. And so it was really easy for me to kind of hang on to that fandom as this team tanked and went into the isolation years of the post Gibbs era into the 2000s. And then obviously where we're at today. So that's really kind of a quick recap of my fandom, if you would.
Nice. That's kind of similar to all of us too. I think we all have a similar fan story, whether we're born and raised in this area or not. That's good stuff. Yeah. Every time we have a guest come on the show, we always want to figure out, how did they become a fan of this team? Anytime I run into other people with especially Cowboys fans in Northern Virginia, the DMV, this, Joe, I always want to know, how the hell did you become a Cowboys fan living in this area? It's fascinating, but
right.
Yeah, but I digress. Go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, thank goodness you don't remember that Raiders Super Bowl because that was a travesty. I've watched that game once, and I never will again. So Steve talked about you a lot in our group chats and so forth, and I've seen your stuff on in the Facebook group. But I'm curious, what exactly is All Pro Reels, and how'd you get started with doing what you do?
All right, everybody got a second for this because
Let's go.
It's going to take a little bit of time to explain.
Go for it.
That's why we're here.
We're a digital media company, and we cover the professional sports in the area. So your major, NFL, NBA, NHL, all the acronym leagues. We also do a little bit of high school whenever it comes into the WCAC. I have a affinity for the WCAC because I went to Paul VI back before Paul VI was actually a really
Go
good
Stags.
Yeah. We used to get stomped all the time by DeMatha. They would book us for homecoming games. That was how bad we were. So it was never good. We were always the running joke. But anyways, I digress there. So we do photography, and then we freelance for some other organizations as well, and shoot for them. And so as a result of that, we have a ton of content. We have a team of about 13 or 14 content creators, and that's photographers and videographers who we all kind of know through at least one degree of Kevin Bacon. My co-founder, Robert Banez, is good. Well, he's kind of like family now, but we met each other in 2017. He was a very, very angry young man who had a lot of intensity on the basketball court. We met at an open gym. And over the years, he's just kind of mellowed out a little bit and taken to some mentoring. And I gave him the opportunity that I received back in 2009. And he really kind of took it and kind of took it to the next level and ended up jumping professions. And now he's doing his thing, but he's doing his thing in photography. And he did not go to school for photography, but it's where he's at now. And so the combination of skill between, what he's doing on a day-to-day basis and then what I do for a living, which is social media consulting and digital consulting, you merge those two things together and we kind of know what we're doing on social media. We're just always out there to make sure that we're putting out high quality content that fans want to see, and try to give them those behind the scenes looks, the stuff that the fan would shoot. I am a fan. And so it's easy for me to kind of take the ticket that I have, right? The ticket that I have, and then turn it back into what would my friend want to see? Like what kind of, you're going to read the paper and you're going to read a magazine. You're going to see on TV the action shots, the ones, the guys who are in the AP and the Getty Images and all that stuff. And so we compete with them in the sense that we're there and we're taking that photo as well. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to kind of beat us to the punch, getting it out into the public. And then obviously, perhaps they've got a little bit slightly better angle for where they're at. So anyways, getting long story short there, but we just want to kind of put out high quality content that our fans really enjoy. And so when I go back and I talk about the opportunity that Rob got, the genesis of All Pro Reels is actually dates back to 2007. And I was a member of a message board that was called Wizards Extreme. Okay. And Wizards Extreme was a kickoff of Extreme Skins, the original Redskins forum.
Yeah.
And so old friend of mine, Assad Naqvi and Matt Naqvi, the Naqvi brothers, they noticed that I was a really kind of intense moderator on their, well, I'd kind of risen through the levels of the message board world and got to level of moderator. And so they reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in being an admin on their site, blah, 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 blah. I am also a Wizards fan. I'm sorry for anybody else out there who is as well, because the misery of being.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Phil and I are.
This is a place where I can come and
yes,
cry.
We're on the same. Yeah,
He's
a Knicks fan, so
okay, all right. Well,
same boat.
I feel like you can kind of relate with us sometimes there. So I was part of this message board for a little bit of time, and then at the time I was about 26 years old, had my oldest son, and I kind of needed a little bit more return on the investment for my time and efforts into it. So I asked the guys, have you guys ever looked into getting credentials? Have you ever looked into, do you taking this a step further and trying to, nobody had done it, of course. And so for the next 2 or 3 months, I continued to badger the Wizards PR department, begging them for credentials. And then finally, I think they just got tired of me and relented and allowed me to come in on a game-by-game basis. And so that was kind of the start of me in the media world. And so from that, I started writing and doing, reporting, if you would. But what I found real quick in that world, the media world, if you would, these journalists who go to school are really good at what they do. There is a art form to writing recaps from games. And where I found myself was kind of in a situation where I'm looking around the arena. I know I've got to type out 600 words about this game, but what the hell is going to differentiate me from, at the time, Mike Lee from the Washington Post, or, David Aldridge writing for TNT at the time? And it's just like, man, I'm not that good. I didn't go to school for journalism, so I'm not really going to be that guy. So I started looking around the arena and I saw the photographers on the floor and I said, those guys have the best seat in the house. And I kind of dig photography a little bit at the time. I didn't go to school for anything, but I kind of dug photography. And so I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I put in a request to be a photographer. And I think after a couple no's, they finally let me on the floor. And then from there, it's just everything is kind of just snowballed. And you just take every opportunity. And it kind of goes back to now, fast forward to 2017, when I told Rob, when I brought him on as a reporter, and then he needed to reinvent himself. Everything is about what you do with the opportunity. All of us are given opportunity, right? And it's just a matter of whether it's the right time or what you knew how to do with it. Or, I'm not going to sit here and preach to a bunch of people who are my age, but at the time in 2009, 2010, when all of this was happening, I said this last week when I posted 20 pictures from the last decade, and I went back and looked at some of my old photography. I was a terrible photographer in 2010, an absolute terrible photographer, but I had elite access. And I'm talking about, I was at NBA All-Star games. I was at the Preakness. I was, I've done boxing events. you
Come
name
down
it.
to the Derby.
And no, I did the Preakness, and so the second leg, I think that is of the Triple Crown, and it was a year, it was a year that the horse had won the other race, and so they were coming into this one. He was the favorite, didn't end up winning. I think it was California something. It was a California Bob Baffert horse. That's what I remember. But crazy experience, and all of it is just the result of when I went in. I just kind of tried to make. It wasn't even about making friends as much as it was just kind of watching what people do, appreciating it, and then kind of telling them how much I appreciated what they did. Like it's an art form. Being able to kind of write is an art form. Being able to take pictures is an art form. And so from that networking, it just kind of spiraled. And I met Ben Standig from The Athletic now. And Ben Standig actually opened up. I owe a lot to Ben. Because he helped me out with the Redskins, my first Redskins credential back in 2016, I think, with Breaking Burgundy, with his website that he had. And, he asked if I was interested in coming to shoot for him. And I was like, hell yeah. I want to go do it. At that point, I had only done one Redskins game and one Redskins practice. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Darwin. Darwin, who was friends with Nick Sundberg, and Nick Sundberg got him the pass for me to come out to training camp, and then he ended up getting us into that game, which was the game against the Minnesota Vikings, where RG3 ran it back. But I'll save that for a picture down the road here. So it just kind of, long story short, I met a bunch of people who opened a bunch of doors for us, and here we are today now, where we're getting DMs from people who think that we're just going to give them access to our Redskins or to our Washington football team games. And, can I come shoot for you? And can I do this? And it's understandable. People are out there and they're hungry. I've never really seen it when kids weren't doing what the kids are doing nowadays. When I was growing up, we were playing sports. Like, I didn't really care about shooting sports back then. I wanted to play. But nowadays, these kids have these cameras and they've got these sophisticated video rigs and all this other stuff. And so, we just try to kind of vet out, and we're very selective about who we want to give opportunities to. I'm not going to lie, we kind of tend to focus more on, kids who we don't think would ever get the chance in a normal environment to do those kinds of things, man. Yep. And it's like, our model is pay it forward. And that's what Rob and I kind of strive to do, is we just pay forward. I've been blessed with many, many opportunities, and I've been blessed with many photographer friends, many mentors who have helped me along the way. And I'd be an asshole if I didn't give back to people who, have no idea what this world is like or how this world operates. It's just kind of, I feel like it's my duty to kind of do that with this small little organization that we've built. So,
right. That's an awesome story, Joe. That is tremendous, man. That makes me happy. Now, is this a full-time gig for you? Is All Pro Reels full-time for you? You have a full-time job and you do All Pro Reels when you have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So I do digital media. So I focus on helping people with their messaging on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you name it. We just kind of try to help them with messaging, create content, think of new ideas to attract their crowds, to entertain their fans, and how to manage these social media platforms that a lot of us, I liken it to our brains. We only use a certain percentage of our brains. A good majority of people out there have no idea what's actually going on Facebook, or how to use Facebook, or how to use Instagram properly, or how to properly, don't do certain things. If you only post a couple times a day, it's not really going to work for you. You kind of got to get things feeding into the algorithm. And so just going out there and teaching people the power of social media, how to use it, the bad parts, the good parts, and all that other stuff. So that's what pays the bills. And then luckily, because I've reached the stage I have in my professional career, I was able to build APR, and my wife doesn't get on me too much now for all the time that I'm gone to cover these games anymore, because, APR is a self-sustaining business now. So that's where we're at.
That's awesome. You probably saw Phil at training camp. Were you out there the whole time?
I was there actually. Yes, I was there from Wednesday until Saturday, baking my ass off in that sun out there. It was hot.
Yeah,
It was hot. I lost
was-
lost about 4 pounds, man.
Needed to
I
move
wish
out
I
there,
did.
man.
Can't say I did. I was up I was walking back and forth between the field and the VIP area, and slight flex right there. But I couldn't turn down the cheap beer. I mean, it was definitely not FedEx prices, so why not? But
so Joe,
I didn't lose any weight.
Phil is one of our fan ambassadors that the team has. The program they stood up, the fan
okay.
ambassador program. So Phil is lucky enough to be one of our fan ambassadors, and he's lucky to be on here with us too. So
That's awesome.
It's nice to have a little bit of access. So what we're going to transition into now is just to hear from you, talk about some of these photos. So as we pop these photos up, I would just ask for the, as this gets posted to the audio people in the world, the Spotify's, the Apple podcasts, all that stuff. If you could describe the photo and then just give us a background. Now, did you take every one of these photos I'm about to show?
Yes, all of
okay.
them.
So just give us a background of the photo, what it is, the moment, and then what it just kind of means. So let's just go ahead and transition into that, because this is what I'm excited for right now. All right. This will pop up here in just a second. All right, here we go.
All right. So this was Terry's first touchdown against the Eagles up in Philly. The reason that this one stood out to me is because there's a really, really famous shot. Well, I say famous, Terry famous, if you would. I'm sure everybody knows it, but he's doing this little kung fu thing, jigger that he does like after he scores a touchdown. But it was the first time that he did it, and you could see Richardson was hype, Trey Quinn was hype. Everybody was just kind of like we were all just. I mean, even me with the camera, I was just kind of like, wow, oh my God, what the hell did I just watch? This guy just, ran on him. But on the other side of this, the other side of the karate chop picture, I'm actually standing there, and you can see me in the background of that picture. So it's one of my little kind of famous moments without really anyone knowing that it was me, because I was kind of hidden in the shadows of one of the players. But it was also my first road game up to Philly. And I got heckled up in Philly pretty badly because I think I was wearing a W hat, which actually was for Westfield's. It had nothing to do with the Washington football team at the Redskins at the time. But everybody thought that it was Washington because it was a W, and so
enemy
maybe I was ahead of my
territory.
time. And so yeah.
Do you wear team gear when you go up there, or you try to stay neutral?
See, I don't know if I'm going to date myself here, but there's a movie called PCU. I don't know if everybody
Yes,
PCU.
yes,
yeah.
I love that movie.
You don't wear the shirt of the band you're going to go see, and so we have the same rule for our photographers. You don't go in Wizards gear to shoot a Wizards game. You don't go in football team gear to go shoot the football team, et cetera, et cetera. So
fair enough.
That's
okay.
No, but we also Philly fans. I will tell you, if your car is parked in their parking lot, and their parking lot is it's really nice how their stadiums are situated, because the football stadium is next to the baseball stadium is next to the basketball arena. But if you've got any plates from out of town, your car is subject to be egged or toilet paper or you name it. They're pretty bad up there.
That sounds about right. Par for the course.
Been there, done
even
that.
Santa Claus isn't safe. We know this. We know this. So have you guys?
I don't talk shit about Philly anymore, man. They ran me ragged a year and a half ago. I posted a picture of one of their special teams guys flicking me off, and it was such an absurd picture. And in hindsight, I should have just not said anything. But I had to go private on my Twitter account. It was awful. It was terrible. There are some terrible human beings in Philadelphia, in the city of Philadelphia. Just no business being on Earth.
I can attest to that. Been there, done that.
So have you guys ever? Was there ever thought of like maybe we should try to give this to Terry or try to see if it's a pretty big moment for him, first touchdown.
Yeah. So we don't take this as a flex, guys, because it's not intended to be, but like we do get a lot of DMs from a lot of players, and it's led to, some decent contact relationships, if you would. And we like to maintain the integrity of our images when we're giving them to the players. And so when you transfer through Instagram, there tends to be a little bit of a loss of resolution. And so we do ask them, if they ask for a picture back, we do ask them for their phone numbers so that we can give it to them in text format, or, now Telegram works as well. But
yeah.
Long story short for this one, Terry does know that this picture exists. It has been sent to him before, along with quite a few other ones that we've given to him as well.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. All right, let's go on to this one.
Terry's good people, by the way. Like really,
Wow.
really just genuine people. He
seems so down to earth.
As advertised. I mean, anybody who takes the time to thank you for taking pictures of them, you got my salute there. So this game, there's actually a video that I took that actually was better than any images that I took from this game. And it was I had a really, really cool vantage point in the end zone where Terry caught that Haskins pass at the very end of the game. I don't know if y'all remember, but he kind of like reached back or had to like contort his body a little bit. So there was no other cameras there, and I caught video of it. And so the angle is just, it's sick. You can see the ball coming in, and Terry just kind of snags it and like turns and for the touchdown. But the other reason why I love this picture in this game was it was my first time at Lambeau Field. And, when you walk into the Mecca of football, like Lambeau Field, like, I've been to quite a few stadiums, historic stadiums like that. I think that really was kind of the cream of the crop, the first, real kind of moment where when I entered the field, the timing was perfect too, because actually when we walked out before the game, we're typically out there about 3.5 hours before the game. When I walked out, they were testing the fog machine. And so I got to walk out with a video of me walking out with the fog, and then boom, all you see is Lambeau Field. I'll shoot that to you afterwards, Steve.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about.
That
But
does sound sweet.
it was just wild. I mean, you just kind of, and then I got stuck. I got stuck there, like kind of just looking around, and it's just this beautiful, ugly green and yellow stadium, that's about to be packed with rabid fans. And it was a surreal experience, to be honest with you, man. Like Packers fans, they're so nice that I think they want to hate you, but it doesn't really work. Like it's almost like it's pretend how they're like, oh, boo, and it's not really a real like boo.
Like
Right.
when somebody from another country try to use American cuss words, like
yes, yeah, 100%.
Mother butthole, you're like, no, it's not a word.
Yes. But they were the friendliest people, and it was a great time. There's really nothing up there but Green Bay Packers football. Getting to the stadium was that was an adventure in of itself. I actually flew into Chicago. It was my wife's birthday weekend. And so for me, in order for me to be able to shoot that game, I had to talk her into going to Milwaukee, and she wasn't having the Milwaukee trip, but she was interested in Chicago. So believe it or not, for this game, we flew to Chicago. I got up at 4:00 in the morning with one of my really good friends, Abdullah Sharif. And Abdullah and I drove 7.5 hours in the morning to Green Bay, into snowy Green Bay. It was snowing at the time. And then we drove 7.5 hours back to go to the airport and jump on a plane and come home. I did all of that to go watch the Green Bay, but I wasn't about to miss that game. That was, you never know when you're going to get it. And that actually is one of the things, one of my first mentors in photography told me there's 2 rules to live by, and you'll never have any regrets if you remember them. Number 1 was you can't pay for the ticket that the photographer has. It's not on StubHub. It's not available for purchase anywhere. And so you value it as if, that it's no one else can get it. So you got to make the most of your opportunity there. And the second thing is to shoot every game like it's the last time that you'll ever have access again. And so that was one of those moments where I knew I get credentialed for it. I just didn't know if I would ever go back there. I didn't know if, who knows when Washington would play Green Bay again. Certainly didn't know it was going to be in 2021, but you just kind of take advantage of the moment. That actually was the second time I shot Aaron Rodgers, because I shot him when he was here at FedEx the year prior or the year before that. It was one of those 2 years they all kind of run together. So
nice.
Anyways, that was all. That was the big story about that Green Bay game.
Very cool. How about this one?
So this was my first Cowboys-Redskins game. Can I keep saying Redskins on here, guys? Like, I don't want to piss anybody off here. Like,
I'm the only one. I'm the only one contractually bound right now.
Yeah,
so
you're good.
You're good.
Speak away.
All right.
Speak away, bro.
Yeah. So this was my first Cowboys-Redskins game. Preston actually got to Dak on this play. It was kind of just a wild play kind of unfolding in front of my eyes. This isn't my best Cowboys-Redskins shot. The best one I have is actually Ryan Kerrigan stripping Preston Smith in the end zone, and then was it Preston who ran it in for a touchdown, I think, at FedEx Field? I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then he came back. So I actually have video of that one as well, which is probably my second favorite video that I've ever shot. And by video, guys, the only thing I mean is I strapped my iPhone at the time to the top of my camera. And so you can hear my camera clicking as I'm shooting the photos. And then you can also see the video happening from kind of far away. But so this game, this was just really cool, man, to experience Redskins Cowboys. I know it's nothing like what it used to be, but the fans were juiced. Like, you know, the intensity was there from the very beginning of the game. Just a really, really fun game to be a part of. And a ton of other images as well that came from this.
Yeah.
But also one of the games where I really kind of came to like Preston Smith a lot. Like, I'm really sad that we saw him go because he was actually really good guy on the field as well as off the field.
Yeah, Preston was a good guy. I just think that, you know, they didn't want to pay him the money what he thought he was worth. It's just the ugly business side. Yeah, the Cowboys games are always hype, man. It's just funny. Hopefully we're treading to a new era where there's less Cowboys fans in the stadium, but you know, we had season tickets for years and it was, I would say 50-50, maybe 60-40 at best, but they took over that stadium, man. I hated it every second of it.
Yeah. It's prior to this game, the last game that I was at was the one where we blew them out with Cooley doing all sorts of crazy nonsense to them. So that was the last Redskins Cowboys game I went to, and then this came up, and it was a fun thing to be a part of. Again, one of those kind of bucket list things where you know, you just never know if I'm going to get to shoot that again. So
absolutely. Okay, how about this one?
This one was
a continuation of the play you just described.
This is when Kerrigan stripped Dak in the end zone, and then Preston ran it in for a touchdown. So I actually have an image of Kerrigan. It's kind of high, so it's not one of my best shots, but you can definitely tell it's Kerrigan stripping Dak. Then I got this, and then obviously I got the video that came away from this. So the reason that this one stood out was because this was probably the loudest that I've ever witnessed FedEx Field in my entire time there as a fan and as a photographer. And because I was right there in that end zone where it happens, it was almost kind of like amplified by two because everyone was so juiced in the end zone right there. I mean, it's like literally where it happened. It's not like it happened on the other side of the field. It was literally right to my right. And so I just remember kind of as I'm shooting, it was just a weird, like I had tingles like from all the screaming and the yelling. And again, I'm a fan. You know, I do get lost sometimes in these games, guys, when a touchdown happens. You know, can we curse on here?
Go ahead.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, like, or, you know, you're just like,
oh shit, I gotta take the picture. I gotta take a picture.
Right.
Wait a minute. I use mother butthole. I want to rechange that. If we cussing.
I love the mother butthole. I actually might. But yeah, I just remember, like, you know, you kind of get lost in the moment. But I ended up, luckily, I was shooting video, so I didn't have to worry about getting all the frames of people coming towards me. But I got the two main shots, and again, just, you know, one of those moments where it was just surreal, just kind of being down there, watching it. You know, the guys are walking right past me. Which, by the way, you know, guys, I'm 5'6", and so when Preston Smith and, you know, John Allen, who I believe John Allen was there in that scrum. I'm pretty sure he was there. It was 2017, 2018.
Yeah, he was there.
You know, Trent Williams was also part of that game. So like these huge mammoth people are walking by me, and I'm you know, just kind of dwarfed by it all. But happening right in front of me. It's just a surreal moment. Moment.
Yeah, that's the insight we were looking for. Just like you said earlier, you had that unfettered access that some of us will never have access to, and it's just amazing. Tell us about this one, the legend himself, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, so this dude's. I mean, you talk about, like, I've read all his books. You know, when people ask me who my favorite Redskin is, it's Joe Gibbs. I just, it's my childhood. And then when they brought him back, he was a part of kind of ushering us through what happened to Sean Taylor. Like, that's kind of how I remember Gibbs, period. I remember him from the first time around through the glory years. And then I remember him kind of helping us all get through Sean. Because I don't know that any other coach could have. I don't know that any other, I certainly don't think Jim Zorn could have ushered us through the Sean Taylor tragedy. He's a definitely don't think the Purple Nurple would have ushered us through there either. But again, I had never really kind of been that close to Joe before. It was kind of stalkerish, if you would, how close I am here with my lens. But it was a good shot. It was against the Chicago Bears. And, just kind of seeing him, he actually paused because he went and he talked to some people right after this. And then afterwards he came up and, waved to all the photographers, and then sat and chatted with us for a couple of minutes. And it was just kind of cool to see the personal side of Joe. He didn't need to do it. He could have just kept walking. He knows he's VIP. He knows he's the king there. Got a ton of people screaming his name. He just talked to this kid in the wheelchair. He could have went about his business, but instead he turned around and he, oddly in Joe Gibbs type form, of course, thanked the photographers for being there as if we did something. And it was just, thank you guys. I was waiting for him to tell me that we fought our guts out to be there, but no such luck on that. But it was just another one of those surreal, cool moments.
Yeah. Have you got to meet him in person, like close up?
No, not any more than like this. No.
Yeah.
No.
That's cool. Okay.
No.
This one. Oof. Tough game.
Yeah. So I have we've instituted kind of a rule. I instituted a rule for us. We don't post publicly images of injuries.
Yeah.
And I just, out of respect for these guys and what they do, we showed the after effects. This picture we did go up with, but I have a picture of his leg, hanging off.
Right.
And it was just kind of it was I hate to keep using the word, guys, but again, it's just one of those moments where you just, it just makes you kind of think through things a lot. Because now that we know the after story, right, and all the things that happen afterwards,
Project 11.
I can zoom in and just kind of put myself back to the position where I was at, the play that happened right before it. I have the sequence. Where the guy is the safety. I can see Alex looking at the safety. I can see Alex pointing to the safety. I can see, the line of scrimmage. I can see the next scene. I can see JJ Watt on the next scene and the build up to it. And so in my mind, I also have kind of, it's like a moving GIF. I can just see it over and over and over again. And this one really kind of just stuck with me. This game was such a wild game because it was kind of going back and forth. And then this happened. And it really, you talk about things that take the life out of a stadium. I can't really recall. The nearest moment that I can recall for this one was the Bills game where Joe blew it with the field goals, and he called the extra timeout. And it was, I believe that was the Sean Taylor towel game too.
Yeah.
And the crowd was just like the whole, the souls left our bodies as we were witnessing what was happening. And you could kind of feel the season was over when this happened. And it was such a weird feeling, but everybody kind of knew it. And it was just, It was a really, really weird thing to see. I remember you could hear Alex screaming, man. It was crazy. It was crazy to be there and witness it. And then when you see the story, like I said, you see the stories afterwards and you hear, Joe Theismann did it on the same yard line and the the same type of situation. Yeah, whatever all those kind of connected dots things are, and you can come back and do that Nostradamus type shit, and oh yeah, look at all the similarities and all this. Just a wild game to be a part of and to be there for.
You didn't happen to cover when Colt McCoy did it too, did you?
I was there for Colt's game too.
I did not
get his injury. I think I was focused on something else at the time, but yes, I was there for that one.
Okay. Wow. That'd have been crazy if you had very similar shots, but because it was a very similar injury, not too far behind the same one though. Yeah, This definitely was the beginning of the end. And I would say it would signal the beginning and end of Jay Gruden as well as the ship went down. That record, we were 6-3 at the time, I think.
6-3. Yeah.
And after that, I don't think we won a game for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, this is the season we ended with
Josh Johnson, Mark Sanchez.
We won one game, and that was that Josh Johnson game against Jacksonville.
Man. Probably one of the lowest points next to Rex and Beck that I can remember as a fan. But this is a great photo. It captures a lot. Like you said, I respect the fact that you didn't post, the actual injury, but this right here just says so much. And he went through so much. And I know there's a little bit of bad blood of some of the things he said after he, got healed up. But we still have love for Alex a little bit for what he did and what he did for our team. But let's finish on a high note. Let's talk about this one. This is one of my favorite memories as a fan of this team. So Joe, go ahead, bro.
One of my, and this is one of my first lessons in trust your own instincts of where you are. So I was on the opposite sideline 2 plays before this play. I was on the other side of the bench. So think this started around the 30-yard line, I believe.
We're definitely in our territory. I think we're around the 30 or so, yeah.
So I was on the opposite side 2 plays before this. So I'm sitting around the 25, 30-yard line waiting for the offense to come down. And so as a photographer, we always kind of want to have the groups coming towards us. And so we typically move from sideline and then kind of move our way into the end zone. And then you'll see us all parked in the end zone trying to get the end zone shots. And I saw a bunch of people going to the other side of the bench, moving over to the offensive side. In general, that typically is you don't think that the offense is going to do anything, and so you want to get some shots of line of scrimmage stuff. So instead of standing my ground and doing what I believed was going to happen, which was that the offense was going to come this direction, I went down to the other side with the rest of the herd, and I ended up salvaging this one shot of RG3 breaking away from the pile. However, had I stayed where I was, I would have had a clear-cut shot of RG3 running towards me for about 40 yards, and then I would have been one of those great photographers who was able to get him jumping into the stands and doing that one pose with all the fans up there, which was the money shot. And it just goes to show you, you got to have a little bit of luck in this business. And you got to have a little bit of common sense and don't follow the herd. Just follow your instinct. But luckily, I salvaged this one little glimmer. I could argue with myself about some of the coloring in it. I could get really technical, and it's not as sharp as I want it to be. But at the same time, it is a pretty cool reminder that guy ended up 70 yards later in the end zone for one of the most memorable touchdowns of the last decade. I feel like I can confidently say that.
What a play. And we thought we were on cloud 9 after this play. We had our quarter. We finally had a guy. And I remember he went up the left sideline, jumped into that stand, just like you said, and what an amazing play. That's when you really saw that all pro, that all world sprinter speed that no one could catch him. And then, our dreams were crushed a few weeks later.
The sidelines were electric, man. The sidelines were electric. I've got a picture of him dapping up Kyle Shanahan. I got a picture of him dapping up Mike Shanahan. Everybody was jazzed up for that. That got the bench was screaming the whole time. I can't remember who exactly, but he just kept saying, "Run, fucking run, run!" Just kept cursing. Didn't even make any sense. Kind of like the cursing from earlier, but run, fucking run.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we were at this game, and we clearly didn't have we were on the opposite side of the field of where he was running. So we were on the right over the visitor tunnel side. So we didn't have this vantage at all. But you're right. The crowd was going ballistic.
And then we had to hold
amazing.
them. Had to hold them after that, right?
Yeah.
It was a little stand there at the end.
Oh man, good times, Joe. Those are some good ass photos, man. I'm glad you sent some really good ones.
Some good ass photos.
Good ass photos. That's what I'm talking about.
Rename your company that from All Pro Reels to Good Ass Photos.
So real quick, let's round out some actual football talk. So Cincinnati, Joe, were you at the Cincinnati game?
That was.
You were. Okay. Clearly Ron's just trying to figure out who's going to make this team and who's not going to make this team. So they clearly made some transactions that followed that game because of the NFL requires them to get down to some roster cuts. So they released some Greg Stroman, Nick Gugamero's tight end. They activated tackle David Sharp, released Steven Sims Jr. That's the big one, who's already signed with Buffalo. Release center John Toth. Then they re-signed John Toth. Then they just released today tight end Temerick Hemingway. So the Cincinnati game had some repercussions. We saw the starters play what was it 2 quarters? 2 quarters, I think.
Yeah.
And what I don't know, so I'm going to the Baltimore game on Saturday. Taking the family, we're going to tailgate. First one, we figured it was low threat. Preseason game. What I haven't really found out yet is what is Ron's plan for talking about what is he going to do for Baltimore? Like I don't know. Have you guys heard what the plan for Baltimore is yet? Have they put that out yet?
He said they're going to play as long as they need to start. Say in his press conference today, he said the starters will play as long as they need to.
Yeah,
they said today Heineke and what's his name, Montez were taking all the first team snaps today too.
Okay. So and then the 53 cut's going to be coming soon. I think they have that's the next big hurdle after this game because we're down to 3 games now, and then the 53. So Joe, do you have any people who you think might be the surprise cuts? Who do you think might not make it?
I think the defensive backs are where you're going to find the surprise names because I think everything else seems to kind of be working itself out. I thought after Jarrett Patterson ran back the kickoff return 39 yards, I was on the Cincy sideline for that part, and I thought that was the moment where he made the team. I mean, I don't think I'm alone with that. I think there's a lot of people who probably agree with that too. But that was kind of one of those where, okay, yeah, that's the play. That's the play that he needed to make, and he made it. The defensive backs, I just think it's going to come down to how many DBs they want to carry and how many safeties they want to carry. And I just think you're going to see like a guy. I don't know how much of a fan favorite he is for you all, but like I appreciate what Jeremy Reeves did for us last year, filling in for when Landon got hurt. And he's a really solid guy. He's a hard worker, but I also think he's one of those guys that you can probably get away with practice squad, right?
Yeah.
Where you can probably get him another year over there. I just the competition is really, really stiff there, and I don't think you're going to cut one of your draft picks from this year, right? And I think Apke was one of the names that people were looking at as well. But Ron, 3 days ago, had nothing but praise for him and saying that he's got all 4 phases of special teams, and for whatever that's worth, that's a big thing for Ron, and so. If you're keeping Troy Apke, it's got to mean that there's someone at the back end who's got to be coming off, and who that is, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I see any surprise cuts though.
Right.
Steven Smith, I didn't know that Sims was. I mean, I knew that he was kind of battling with, for a spot. I didn't think he was going to go in the 3rd week of preseason.
That wide receiver room's awfully crowded, but if you're talking DBs, like you said, I mean, there's that guy Cole Luke. I don't think he's going to make it. Maybe practice squad. Derek Forrest, like you said, draft pick. He's going to make it. Jeremy Reeves, bubble. DeShazer Everett's a veteran. I don't know if they want to keep. They love DeShazer Everett though. They really do.
He's another guy who plays special teams like a madman.
And Katzer Katzer isn't alone in praise for him. I remember listening to a Logan Thomas interview that he did in OTAs, I believe, and he talked about the importance of DeShazer Everett, and he said that there's stuff that you just can't. You will never know because it happens behind the scenes, and he is responsible for a lot more than what he probably is given credit for. And I've also heard the other thing about DeShazer is that practice just ain't his thing, and it's not that he's not good. He's not a good practice player, but his what he does best is hit, and he can't hit in practice the way that you can hit in the game.
Right.
But I remember the crack he laid on Daniel Jones in New York last year. The boy loves contact. He loves to hit. He loves to put a hit on, and
plays hard.
Yeah, you bring that kind of energy and intensity, and add in Chase Young and what Chase does. All of that stuff kind of factors into the juice that they bring, as Ron likes to call it. So I don't know how many surprises you're going to see out of some of the veteran names there. So yeah, I do think like Cole Luke, Jeremy Reeves. Jeremy Reeves is probably fighting the 5th or 6th DB on the team for a spot. Right. Linebackers, I'm not sure who, outside of the main 3 or 4. I don't think John Bostic is going anywhere. Like
he should. They just don't have depth though. They just don't have the depth. He's nothing special, but
KJ Wright's out there. I don't know.
The thing with the DBs, you touched a lot about the safeties. I think that you got to watch the corners too, because St. Juste has looked fantastic. I'll pat myself on the back for being a fan of that pick early on. And then that kid, was it McTire? Who I'll say I knew nothing about him, but he's shown up. Jimmy Moreland's playing like he's fighting for a spot. He's showing up. We already know who the big 2 are going to be. We know it's going to be Fuller. We know it's going to be William Jackson. It's everybody behind them. Who's going to be that nickel corner? Who's going to play the slot? Who's going to do? And there's so many guys fighting for those last couple of spots at the corner that I think that's going to be just as interesting as safety. And safety is going to be an interesting one too, because we loaded up on talent. And I think it really just Ron decided, okay, we're going to bring in as many good safeties as we can and just see who sticks around, who outplays who.
Yep.
But that defensive backfield in general is just going to be nuts. And I remember sitting here this time last year, and all we talked about was, oh my God, how are we going to get through this season with this defensive backfield? We thought they were going to be terrible.
It's funny how it worked out though, right?
It is. Remember, look, Dev was scared that Aaron Colvin was going to start. He was,
Dev was talking about putting Cam Sims at safety. Let's be real.
Dev was talking about putting Cam Sims at safety.
Still am, by the way.
Talk about a guy who's really kind of taking advantage of the opportunity. Cam, I love Cam.
That's my dude.
One man, like the guy, he works. He just works. He's a Ron guy through and through, man. He took his opportunity and just kind of remade himself into what he is. I'm glad to see him producing the way that he produced.
Maybe I missed it, but who's the guy you guys think is going to get cut from that wide receiver room? Is that what you guys are talking about?
I think that's right.
We didn't say wide receiver. We just said surprise cuts. But from the wide receiver room,
surprise it would be Humphreys for me. It's one of the things where I don't think it'll happen, but I understand why it would happen. It's like, well, do you really need a backup slot that's a veteran? If Samuels is healthy, if he's not, then what are you gonna do?
Well, they're talking about Samuel's going to play a lot of wide as well, so that still leaves the slot open.
But do you keep a $1.5 million backup slot to catch 15, 20 passes a year? You don't think Milne or Wright could do that? Yeah. And you also can put Wright in the backfield every now and then and run some gadget plays with him.
Yeah, Wright's
really because that didn't work last year.
I don't know. See, I think he's gone too. But Ron talks. He brings him up a lot.
Yeah,
special teams,
right?
Special teams too.
Yeah. And you can say, well, Humphries runs kickoffs back and punts, but so do the other guys.
So does Patterson.
Younger and cheaper.
So Carter. Yeah, we're good.
So we keep him 4 running backs then.
I think
we are
keeping,
definitely keeping 4 running backs
in some way, shape, or form.
I think he used the Cincinnati game. From what I watched of it, it felt like he was using that game to see if Gibson could run those short yardage situations, so that he could maybe say, I could probably get away with cutting this guy, Barber, man.
Don't need Barber. If Gibson's going to be a 3-down back, you don't need Barber unless Gibson gets hurt. Then you're asked out.
Nah, that's it. You can find 100 Barbers, man, on the bench.
Yeah, true. Well, before we close down, I got to ask Joe 2 more quick questions. How do you feel about our record this year? You think we're going to be 8-9, 9-8, 10-7, and 2. You got to tell us how do you feel about the name? So rattle those 2 off, and then we'll close this out.
Okay. I will give you, before I answer these 2 things, I will give you guys a little bit of what I believe to be true. I've seen enough of these cut days and enough of these last preseason games. If you watch the sidelines in this last game, in the second half of the game, the guys who are up front wearing the towel on the head, got their, feeling a little bit loose with themselves, you can pretty much 9 times out of 10 guarantee that those guys are going to make the team. If you look at the sidelines and you see the guys who are sitting back on the bench, got their head like kind of down, or body language will tell you a lot in this last preseason game. So if you're watching on TV, anybody who's listening, if you're watching on TV, and you get some sideline views, just watch for the body language, because you could even tell in the Cincinnati game, Jimmy Moreland does not look like someone who's about to get a pink slip from Ron. He was looking mighty comfortable, yapping it up with Montez and Chase on the side, jazzing up the guys on the plays. And so, there's a couple guys, offensive linemen, you can kind of tell. You'll be able to go through them. So anyways, that's just one of my tells. You guys can use it if not, or prove me wrong next time I come on.
Sound like you're hinting at something. Something you don't want to tell us.
Watch the sidelines.
No, this is a man. This is a man who's had those up close looks that we don't get.
Fitzpatrick's getting cut, isn't he? That's happening.
They told him to cut the beard and he didn't do it. So
man, we're gonna cut the dude then, right?
All right. So now, what was the question?
So let's talk just quick shot, hip shot. What do you think the record's going to look like? Give or take plus or minus 1.
I hate the fact that we've got these weird numbers now with the records, but I'm going to be the guy who says that it's probably going to be 9-8.
Yep,
that's where I'm at. Have them. 9-8, and if they can figure some shit out early, and don't get too far behind, in the hole when they go through that murder row of Hall of Fame quarterbacks,
it's brutal. It's going to be brutal.
7-10.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's like it's 9-8 or some variation of 1 to 2 wins on either side of that. I think that's your delta that you're playing with, right? And it all matters on how they get out the gate with the first 2 games, because if you don't win against the Chargers, Thursday night against the Giants becomes a real kind of uncomfortable situation.
Right.
Like, because you almost have to win that game, and nobody wants to have an almost win in, the beginning of the year. But the fact that your games against the rest of the NFC East are stacked at the end of the year, I mean, I guess you're not really ever truly out of it until you get to that point. But man, going through that murder row of the
right after the Giants, you have Josh Allen in Buffalo, and then 2 games later you have Pat Mahomes, and then Aaron Rodgers.
It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna stick to my guy. I think that they'll have a winning record for the first time in God knows how many years. And it's not technically winning records, because what did they get to last year? 7-9.
7-9. Yeah. 7-9.
I can't even brag about that.
Yeah.
9-8. 9-8. I'll stick to 9-8.
Fair enough. We'll bring you back on later, and we'll see how that goes.
Do you have any cool locker room celebration stories?
No, I can't talk about any of this.
So the answer is yes, but not for us.
I can tell you that there is. I mean, I'll say it now. There were a couple games where the team quit and the other team knew it. Carolina game, Jay Gruden. Carolina knew. They knew on the sideline. They were, motherfuckers quit. They quit. They don't want to play. They don't want to play for that coach. That coach shit. I mean, you talking about like everybody on the sideline.
You got any pictures of Jay Gruden with Capri Bibbs' girlfriend? I'm just joking, man. Louisville L1C4 Gruden, we love you,
How
man.
did what is it? What is that? What's that place out in Ashburn everyone goes to?
Loud
One.
Bar Louie. That's where he's at.
Yeah. I got 4 kids, man. I don't got time to be chasing Jay Gruden around.
Yeah, exactly.
chasing women around.
So what do you think about the name, man? How do you think the name's going to turn out? Do you have a preference? Do you like something other than, more than something else? No preference?
No.
Do you like something less than everything else? I do.
Yeah, I think getting too cute with this like Commanders stuff, like I don't. I'm not one of these guys who's like stuck on, God damn it, we're not the Redskins and fuck everybody and like it is what it is, right? We move on. I wish they would have done Washington Football Club instead of team. And then I would flat out say, I don't want another team name. I just want to be Washington Football Club and have Washington across my chest, and I don't care about anything else. Everybody was already calling us Washington for the 2-3 years leading up to when it actually happened. At least all the the
SB Nation.
I like that too. Washington Club or team. Keep it. I like it how it is. Now they can't do that though, right?
Right. I don't think you can go from Washington Football Team to Washington Football Club, and I'm not like, I thought the Kraken, what they did was really fucking cool. Like, I thought that was a really cool rollout. Like, just everything about it. It's a different name. And I love Jason Wright. And I want to caveat what I'm about to say with, I love what this business team is doing now. And it was visible at training camp that there are adults running the show now. Like, finally, they were physically touching the fans, like engaging with the fans. The Joey Colby Jones was walking around and introducing himself to everybody who wanted to meet him. Jason Wright was out there constantly with like one plate of food in one hand and is shaking hands on the other hand if he wasn't doing a dance with the fans. So like the business side of the house, they really kind of fixed that. Having said that, I've been around this town long enough to know that, like, I just kind of feel like they're going to fuck this up. Like, there's going to be some sort of it's going to come out and be something, and then
wait for it.
Yeah, you know how Twitter is, man. You're
not going to please everybody, though. That's the bottom line. Whatever it is,
what's going to happen? Do you know how they can be guaranteed to fuck this up?
College of Unicorns or some shit.
Red Wolves.
Nah, that's where it's gonna be. That's what's gonna be the name.
Horrible name.
I'm cool with Wolves, man.
Oh God, that is such a
just Wolves.
I want like a Cobra or something cool, like damn Cobra Commander symbol on it. Oh, wrong hand. on that. I want something cool like that, like a Minotaur or something on there.
But Red Wolves is not it.
Like a T-Rex or something.
I don't care what it is. Just hurry up and bring it out so I can buy some gear and cheer for you guys. I don't care.
Steve's already spent way more money than he should have for a name that's going to last 2 years.
Keep it watching the football team, and I'll be even happier.
It's going to be some non-mascot like Revelations or the Fury or something. Something stupid.
So Kevin Sheehan and JP and all local guys have this last week or so. B Mitch. They've really come forward and said, we honestly believe the name's already been selected, and it's none of the names that we've been thinking of. So if that's any inkling of being the truth, then that's kind of a good thing. They did a free marketing, so.
Yeah, Sheehan had Ben Standig on his show last week, I think. I was listening to it on the way up to the game, and he had mentioned that he thinks that they know what it is already. They're just trying to make sure that they, dot all their I's and cross all their T's and make sure that someone doesn't come back, 2 months afterwards and like, did you know that the Commanders actually murdered a bunch of Indians on a reservation in 1800? And, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to make sure that they don't go through one of those things. So I kind of buy into that. The other thing that Ben mentioned on the podcast, I know that y'all probably saw the making of the brand. And they did the bleeping and stuff. So Ben's theory was they didn't say shit. He was like, there is no way that you're going to tell me that this $1 billion decision was left to a video editor to go in there and make sure that he blurred it out properly and also added the effects to make sure that you didn't hear the name that Ron
Too much
and
risk.
such and such. So
Too much risk.
I was like, you know what, that kind of probably makes a lot of sense. But I do believe that they know what it is. I don't really like Red Wolves. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm not the fan of that. I liked Hogs. I liked Washington Hogs.
I liked Hogs too, a little bit.
Just getting dirty in the mud, and it's a throwback to kind of our old stuff. And
I go with bats. Just make up something like nobody is a bat. You know what I'm saying? Name was a camels or something. Is there a goats? Goats would be cool.
What if we could do
the
Washington Airwolves? You remember
that would be tough, man. I got the street hawk. Those two shows.
Jan Michael Vincent theme
you old like me,
bro. On that name, honoring the TV show and everything. That's the only way I'm getting behind Wolves, just because I loved that show when I was a kid.
But it would throw everyone for a loop because we all be waiting for like this animal to come out, but instead there's this badass helicopter.
River
fly. Oh shit! We have helicopters.
You got to play the theme music too. You got to play the theme music with it. Some 80s.
Right.
I petitioned for Fast Blacks, but everybody got mad for that one.
That was his fantasy team name, by the way.
Yeah. That was Deb's fantasy football team.
Oh man! On that note,
yes, and a compliment to me. You know?
Joe, we can't thank you enough to come in and kick it with us for taking the time out of your evening. We know you're a busy guy. We really thank you for sharing the stories, about what you do. That's clearly you're very passionate about what you do, and that's just awesome. And we were so glad that we were able to, ask those questions, and you were able to tell us some of these stories. So where can everyone find you and your team on social media?
So we're lucky that All Pro Reels was available for all of our social media platforms.
Super easy.
We actually took into consideration, when you've been in this game long enough, you realize that when your name starts with A, you're at the top of every media list. And so when we go in, to get our credentials and stuff, it's always at the top. So it starts with A, ALLPROEELS. All Pro
there you
Reels.
go. All Pro Reels.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think we're going to roll out a TikTok.
Oh,
I
nice.
won't be because I'm too old to be on TikTok.
I don't have TikTok either. I don't even have Instagram.
Yeah, we'll be. Instagram is where we make most of our noise. That's where we got the players kind of sharing our stuff and posting our stuff, and it's fantastic. And we exist because there's fans out there like you all who want this content, and I appreciate you all providing us the platform in your group.
Yeah,
to be able to share our stuff, and without you guys, we don't do what we do. So you're all
please continue to share. I can't imagine how many pictures of yours are on someone's wallpaper or banner, and that's just awesome to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll go around the horn, do some shout outs. Dev, you got any shout outs for anybody?
Shout out Aaron Colvin, man. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's going to have as many interceptions this year for us as he's had his whole career, which is 0. So
he had one in the preseason game. Come on, don't count. He had one in the preseason game.
I might have to,
when he was in Jacksonville.
Preseason. Not the game.
We're talking about preseason.
Talking about preseason.
Yeah. All right, Phil, you got any shout outs?
Shout out to Rod, who couldn't be here tonight. Shout out to Joe for joining us and bringing some amazing sideline stories. I mean, really telling us what it's like to be that close to the action, but still bringing that fan's heart to it. And from the group, shout out to Chris Blow. He's a relatively new member to the group, but God, he is engaging with people left and right, and that's the type of people we like in our group. We like people who stir the content and but stir it in a way that actually brings out discussion instead of just BS and shit posting for shit posting sake. So shout out to Chris. Dude is a prime example of exactly what we aim to do with the Washington Football Addicts.
Yeah. Yeah, now shout out to Rod for not being here. Hey, and Joe, big shout out to you, man. Thank you for finally joining us. Hope we can get you back on later in the season and get your take on how things are going, get some more content and photos from you. Hopefully that we can reconvene and get some good stories from where we are, maybe at the halfway point or something. That'd be pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about all of our travels.
There you go. Do you have a travel plan? Are you planning on going to every game, home and away? Is that how it's going to be this year?
That's how it's going to be. The only thing I missed last year was Dallas because I got COVID.
Yeah.
I caught the COVID.
Oh, yeah. One thing. Shout out to Eric 337 Eagles for taking these 2 ass whoopings by Washington football team in Madden 22. If you want some of this, Pyrex Gods is my name. On Xbox.
Unless it's Parker Hamlet from
Man, that's old.
UFC.
Man, I feel like I'm coming to America. They won.
I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet because I've been busy, but I will get to it eventually. But all right, Joe, thanks for joining us, man. And we're going to sign out here. All right, guys. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.
Go